add this to your coffee: stem cells, reactivate, cancer starves, fat burns. For countless individuals, the journey past 60 is often met with the quiet acceptance of diminishing vitality. The common wisdom suggests an inevitable decline, a body that simply stops working as efficiently, where certain processes are believed to be irreversible. But what if I were to tell you that this widely held belief about aging is fundamentally flawed? What if there was a remarkably simple, affordable ingredient costing less than $1 a day that, when incorporated into your daily morning coffee, could orchestrate a triple transformation many consider nothing short of miraculous for those over 60? This single addition has been shown to achieve three profound biological feats all at once. It effectively reactivates the dormant stem cells your body had long ceased producing, essentially restarting your internal repair system. It strategically cuts off the crucial fuel supply that aggressive cancer cells rely upon to proliferate and spread. And perhaps most visibly, it ignites the burning of visceral fat, that deeply dangerous type of fat densely packed around your vital organs, at a pace almost unmatched by any other dietary intervention ever rigorously studied in clinical settings. Now, you might be wondering why this isn't common knowledge, why your doctor hasn't brought this revolutionary insight to your attention. The truth behind this isn't some clandestine secret, but rather a testament to the pace of scientific discovery and its dissemination. While this groundbreaking research has been meticulously detailed and published in esteemed peer-reviewed journals for years, it is only now beginning to filter into mainstream medical curricula. My name is Dr. Becker, and as a physician, I have dedicated over 2 decades of my professional life to delving into the intricate science of metabolic medicine, understanding cellular regeneration, and pioneering strategies for cancer prevention, particularly for patients navigating the complexities of life beyond 50. My journey into exploring how specific dietary fats interact with the delicate biology of aging led me to a discovery that completely reshaped my perspective on the very first meal of your day: breakfast. Today, I am here to unveil the exact scientific evidence, explaining precisely how this mechanism functions at the most fundamental cellular level, and to share the precise, clinically validated protocol. This means you can begin experiencing these transformative benefits as early as tomorrow morning. In the course of this video, we will meticulously unpack 4 critical areas, each building upon the last to provide a comprehensive understanding. First, we will explore why the unique biology of individuals over 60 renders them particularly vulnerable to 3 parallel and intertwined threats: the depletion of stem cells, the unchecked proliferation of cancer cells, and a general decline in metabolic function. We will show how these seemingly disparate issues are far more connected than you might imagine. Second, we will detail the 5 remarkable biological mechanisms through which one specific type of fat, when added to your morning coffee, powerfully addresses all 3 of these threats simultaneously. Third, we will examine the rigorous clinical studies that unequivocally prove these benefits, providing exact numbers, sample sizes, and the institutions where this groundbreaking research was conducted. Finally, we will outline the precise protocol covering the exact amount, the correct type of ingredient, the optimal timing, the crucial preparation method, and crucially, the common mistakes that can completely undermine its effectiveness, even if you attempt to do everything else correctly. Before we proceed further, a quick note. I receive messages every week from individuals who have watched several of these videos but haven't yet subscribed. Taking just 2 seconds to check your subscription status costs nothing, yet it profoundly helps this vital information reach more people who desperately need it. Let's now begin by understanding what is actually happening within your body after the age of 60, as this foundational knowledge is what everything else we discuss builds upon. Understanding the biology of aging: 3 interconnected threats. Beyond the age of 60, 3 distinct yet profoundly interconnected biological processes begin to accelerate in unison. While many individuals might be vaguely aware of one of these changes, very few comprehend the full scope of all three, or more critically, the alarming way in which they conspire to exacerbate each other, making each threat far more detrimental than it would be in isolation. The first of these accelerations is a phenomenon known as mitochondrial senescence. Consider your mitochondria as the microscopic power plants operating within every single cell in your body, tirelessly generating the energy required for every function, from thinking to moving. When you were a vibrant 20-year-old, a single muscle cell could proudly house as many as 2,000 mitochondria, all humming with peak efficiency. Fast forward to 65, and clinical studies employing direct mitochondrial density measurements from muscle biopsies reveal a stark decline of 40 to 50%. This means your cells are, quite literally, running on half power. This isn't just a number, it manifests tangibly in your daily life. It's why activities that once felt effortless now demand greater exertion. It's the reason you experience persistent fatigue even after minimal activity, and why your body's capacity for recovery, whether from a strenuous workout, an illness, or simply the daily wear and tear of life, is significantly slower than it was in your 40s. Your internal energy reserves are simply depleted. The second critical process is stem cell depletion, a topic that regrettably receives far too little attention. Think of stem cells as your body's tireless, dedicated repair crew, always on standby. When any tissue in your body incurs damage, be it a microscopic tear in a muscle fiber during exercise, inflammation forming in an arterial wall, or the natural wear and tear of your gut lining, it is these remarkable stem cells that swiftly migrate to the site of injury and meticulously regenerate healthy new tissue. At 30 years old, your body maintains a robust and active pool of mesenchymal stem cells, hematopoietic stem cells, and tissue-specific progenitor cells, all working ceaselessly to keep your organs in a perpetual state of renewal and optimal function. Yet, by 65, numerous studies meticulously measuring circulating stem cell populations in human blood demonstrate a staggering decline of 60 to 70% compared to younger adults. Pause and consider the profound implications of this. The diligent repair crew that faithfully maintained your tissues for decades is now operating at a mere 30% capacity. This deficit directly translates to wounds that heal agonizingly slower, arterial walls that repair less effectively, and gut lining that regenerates with more perilous gaps. Crucially, and this is perhaps the most significant point for our discussion today, when this widespread stem cell depletion converges with the inevitable DNA damage that accumulates over decades of oxidative stress, there are simply far fewer healthy stem cells available to replace those damaged cells before they can accumulate the dangerous mutations that, in time, lead to the formation of cancer. The third, equally insidious process is metabolic dysregulation. As you cross the threshold of 50, your body's cells progressively lose their sensitivity to insulin, the key hormone that ushers glucose into cells for energy. Concurrently, the enzymes responsible for breaking down stored fat become less active, severely diminishing your body's innate ability to efficiently utilize fat for fuel. Instead, glucose increasingly becomes the dominant fuel source for virtually every cell throughout your body. This shift carries enormous ramifications, particularly concerning cancer. While we will revisit this in much greater detail later, the essential summary is this: cancer cells harbor a fundamental, almost insatiable metabolic addiction to glucose. As your entire cellular metabolism drifts towards this glucose dependency, you are inadvertently cultivating the precise internal environment that cancer cells require not just to survive, but to aggressively thrive and multiply. Now, here is the crucial insight that is rarely articulated. These three interconnected processes do not merely unfold in isolation or in parallel. Far more menacingly, they actively amplify one another in a devastating feedback loop. Mitochondrial dysfunction, with its reduced energy output, generates an increased production of reactive oxygen species, cellular waste. products that relentlessly damage DNA within your precious stem cells. This damage, in turn, critically reduces stem cell viability, meaning fewer effective cells are available to replace damaged tissue. This leads to a higher proportion of cells harboring damaged mitochondria, thus perpetuating and intensifying the entire downward spiral. It's a cascading series of failures that accelerates relentlessly with each passing decade after 50, eroding your health and vitality from within. The breakthrough, a single intervention for multiple threats. Given this complex, interconnected web of age-related decline, the pressing question emerges: is there truly a single, unified intervention capable of interrupting all three of these detrimental processes simultaneously? An intervention that can comprehensively target mitochondrial function, bolster stem cell viability, and fundamentally alter the metabolic environment to disfavor cancer cells, all at the very same time, based on a wealth of meticulously peer-reviewed research published in leading scientific journals such as PLOS One, Nutrition and Metabolism, the Journal of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, Nature, and Cell Metabolism. The resounding answer is a definitive yes. And this remarkable intervention revolves around a specific, unique type of dietary fat, consumed in a very particular manner, in seamless combination with something you likely already consume every single morning. Introducing the key ingredient, MCT oil and its unique power. This is where the journey truly becomes fascinating, and I want to meticulously explain the underlying science, the how behind this transformation. A deep understanding of these powerful mechanisms is not just academic, it's the very foundation that will empower you to commit to the protocol and persevere past those initial weeks, ensuring you unlock the full benefits that become evident by week 6 and beyond. The star ingredient we're discussing is MCT oil. Specifically, a highly potent fraction of it known as caprylic acid or CATEs. Let me elaborate on what this is and then guide you through the 5 remarkable biological mechanisms that render it so incredibly effective. MCT stands for medium chain triglyceride. To understand its uniqueness, consider that all the fats we consume in our diet are essentially composed of chains of carbon atoms. Most common dietary fats, the kind found abundantly in olive oil, butter, meat, and nuts, are the long-chain fats. These possess carbon chains, typically ranging from 14 to 24 atoms in length. When you consume these long-chain fats, your body engages in a sophisticated and time-consuming digestive process. They are first packaged into tiny particles called chylomicrons, then painstakingly transported through your intricate lymphatic system, and only much later do they finally reach your bloodstream. This entire metabolic journey can span several hours, and often, a significant portion of these fats ends up being stored away in your adipose tissue, body fat, rather than being immediately utilized for energy. MCT oil, however, is a profoundly different creature. Its carbon chains are significantly shorter, typically ranging from 6 to 12 carbons. This seemingly minor structural difference utterly transforms the way your body perceives and processes these fats. Unlike their longer counterparts, MCT oil is absorbed with unparalleled speed and efficiency. It travels directly through the portal vein straight into your liver, completely bypassing the lymphatic system. Once it reaches the liver, it undergoes an immediate and rapid conversion into molecules known as ketones. Specifically, it produces a powerful molecule called beta-hydroxybutyrate, or BHB. Many people associate ketones exclusively with states of prolonged fasting or strict ketogenic diets. What often goes unrecognized, however, is the unique capacity of MCT oil to induce ketone production, even when you haven't been fasting, and even if you're not adhering to a very low-carbohydrate diet. This is precisely why MCT oil is sometimes referred to as an exogenous ketone source. It actively triggers your body to produce ketones regardless of your current carbohydrate intake. These ketones, and particularly BHB, are the absolute linchpin of everything we are discussing today. A deep understanding of what BHB accomplishes within your body will illuminate the pathways of all 5 groundbreaking mechanisms I am about to describe, revealing how this simple addition can create such profound and wide-ranging health benefits. Mechanism 1. Unprecedented visceral fat oxidation. The first transformative mechanism, and one that yields remarkably swift and measurable results, is the direct oxidation of fat, a process that unfolds at a pace almost unheard of in clinical research. Consider a compelling study conducted by researchers at Stellenbosch University involving 49 adults over a meticulously monitored 16-week period, with findings proudly published in the esteemed Journal of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. In this groundbreaking investigation, participants were divided into 2 groups, one consuming 18 to 24 grams of MCT oil daily, and a control group consuming an equivalent caloric amount from olive oil. The results were striking. The MCT group experienced an average body weight loss of 1.67 kgs, approximately 3.7 pounds, more than the olive oil group. However, the truly remarkable finding wasn't just the amount of weight lost, but the type of fat. The MCT group demonstrated a significantly greater reduction, a remarkable 2.9% more, specifically in visceral abdominal fat. This is not the harmless subcutaneous fat located just beneath the skin. Visceral fat is the metabolically active, deeply dangerous fat that insidiously wraps itself around vital organs like the liver, pancreas, and intestines. This is the insidious fat that actively fuels systemic inflammation, drives insulin resistance, and dramatically elevates the risk of numerous chronic diseases, including various forms of cancer. To truly understand the cellular shift occurring, researchers employed indirect calorimetry, a method to precisely measure metabolic rates. They found that the MCT group was oxidizing fat at a rate a staggering 29% higher than the olive oil group. Their cells had undergone a profound and measurable shift, recalibrating their internal machinery to prioritize fat burning as their primary mode of operation. Why does this accelerated fat loss occur? The answer lies in BHB, the potent ketone molecule produced so readily from MCT oil. BHB actively triggers and activates a crucial class of nuclear receptors within your cells known as PAR-alpha, peroxisome proliferator activated receptor alpha. When PPR-alpha is engaged, it acts as a master switch, upregulating the expression of genes directly involved in beta oxidation, the precise biochemical process by which fats are broken down and converted into usable energy. Essentially, your cells receive a clear, unequivocal molecular signal: utilize fat for fuel, and they respond by doing just that, transforming your body into a more efficient fat-burning engine. But this is merely the first mechanism, and honestly, perhaps not even the most profoundly important one. Prepare to be amazed by what transpires at the very core of your mitochondria and your precious stem cells. Mechanism 2. Reversing aging with mitochondrial regeneration and stem cell reactivation. I consider this second mechanism to be truly the most astonishing, involving 2 intimately linked processes: mitochondrial biogenesis and stem cell reactivation. The intricate connection between these 2 vital functions has only recently been fully elucidated by groundbreaking research. Let's begin with mitochondrial biogenesis. Recall our earlier discussion. Between the ages of 20 and 70, you experience a disheartening loss of 40 to 50% of your mitochondrial density. For far too long, the prevailing medical consensus was that this decline was an inevitable, immutable consequence of aging, something that could, at best, be modestly slowed by consistent exercise, but never truly reversed. However, this long-held belief is now being decisively challenged, even overturned, by a growing body of robust scientific evidence. In a pivotal study published in PLOS One, researchers meticulously investigated the effects of MCT supplementation on mitochondrial function. Their findings were revolutionary. MCT oil actively stimulates a protein known as PGC1 alpha, often hailed as the master regulator of mitochondrial biogenesis. When PGC1 alpha is expressed within your cells, it sends a clear, powerful signal, instructing them to begin constructing brand new mitochondria. After just 4 weeks of consistent MCT supplementation, participants in this study exhibited a remarkable 37% higher expression of PGC1 alpha in their muscle tissue. This translated directly to a stunning 28% increase in the number of mitochondria within those same muscle cells. Furthermore, their measured exercise capacity, their intrinsic ability to generate energy and perform under physical demand, improved by an impressive 25%. To truly grasp the significance of this, envision each of your cells as a miniature factory tirelessly generating electricity. In your prime at 25, that factory might have been powered by 100 highly efficient generators, all running at peak capacity. By 65, you might find yourself with only 50 generators remaining, and half of those are sputtering, inefficient, and struggling to keep up. MCT oil acts as a profound capital investment in this aging factory. It doesn't just repair the old generators, it actively triggers the construction of perhaps 30 brand new, highly efficient ones. Within a mere 8 weeks, your cellular factory is producing significantly more vital energy from the very same raw materials, restoring a level of vitality you might not have felt in years. Now, let's connect this to the extraordinary realm of stem cells, a linkage where the research truly becomes exhilarating. BHB, the potent ketone generated from MCT oil, has been unequivocally shown to directly influence stem cell behavior through a sophisticated mechanism that eminent researchers at institutions like Harvard and the Salk Institute have been rigorously investigating. A seminal study published in Nature by Chung and colleagues demonstrated unequivocally that BHB is a critical regulator of hematopoietic stem cell quiescence. Quiescence might sound technical, but its meaning is profoundly important. It signifies that your stem cells are maintained in a protected, undamaged, and resting state, essentially dormant, yet poised and ready to be activated precisely when your body demands their restorative power. When BHB levels are chronically low, a common occurrence in people over 60 whose bodies are primarily relying on glucose for fuel, stem cells prematurely exit this vital quiescent state, become exhausted, and tragically lose their precious regenerative capacity. Conversely, when BHB levels are consistently elevated, as happens when you faithfully consume C8-MCT oil in your morning coffee, these crucial stem cells are preserved in their protected, quiescent state. This means they literally live longer, are significantly more responsive to activation signals, and critically, when they are finally called upon to repair damaged tissue, they function with vastly greater effectiveness. This isn't merely theoretical conjecture. These findings are meticulously measured in human biological samples using cutting-edge techniques such as flow cytometry and single-cell RNA sequencing, providing irrefutable evidence. The precise molecular pathway is now clearly established. BHB actively inhibits an enzyme called HDAC3, which in turn orchestrates the activation of a specific gene expression profile that directly maintains stem cell integrity and longevity. In incredibly practical terms, the simple act of consistently consuming MCT oil in your morning coffee is initiating a cascade of events at the cellular level that almost no pharmaceutical intervention can replicate. It is actively helping to preserve and reactivate the very repair crew your body utterly depends on to maintain healthy tissue and to diligently prevent the insidious accumulation of cellular damage that, left unchecked, leads to the devastating development of cancer. This represents a profound shift in our understanding of age-related decline and regeneration. Mechanism 3. Disrupting cancer's fuel supply. A metabolic strategy. This third mechanism highlights why this intervention becomes directly and profoundly relevant to cancer prevention and management. To fully appreciate its significance, let's carefully review the groundbreaking science. In 1931, the eminent biochemist Otto Warburg was awarded the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine for his revolutionary discovery of a peculiar metabolic characteristic he observed in virtually all cancer cells. His meticulous studies revealed that cancer cells consume glucose at an astonishing rate, 10 to 50 times higher than normal, healthy cells. Furthermore, they ferment this glucose into lactate even in the abundant presence of oxygen, a process he termed aerobic glycolysis, now widely known as the Warburg effect. In contrast, normal healthy cells, when oxygen is plentiful, efficiently burn glucose through oxidative phosphorylation within their mitochondria, a far more effective process. Cancer cells, however, stubbornly prefer the faster, yet inherently less efficient, fermentation pathway, regardless of oxygen availability. For decades, this observation was largely considered a mere curiosity, an interesting byproduct of cancer rather than a central driver. However, more recent, pioneering research, including the seminal work of Dr. Thomas Seyfried at Boston College and Dr. Dominic D'Agostino at the University of South Florida, has conclusively demonstrated that this metabolic dependency of cancer cells is far from incidental. In fact, it is central to cancer cell survival, and critically, it creates a very specific and exploitable vulnerability. The core issue is that cancer cells often possess dysfunctional mitochondria. They are metabolically impaired and cannot efficiently oxidize fat or ketones for energy. This reveals a powerful therapeutic avenue. When you strategically reduce glucose availability within the body and simultaneously increase ketone availability, you create a metabolic environment where your healthy cells, which possess fully functional mitochondria, can efficiently utilize ketones for energy. Meanwhile, cancer cells are effectively deprived of the glucose they so desperately depend on. In this altered metabolic landscape, healthy cells not only adapt but thrive, while cancer cells become profoundly stressed, and their growth is significantly impaired. This strategic approach is increasingly referred to as metabolic therapy, and the body of supporting evidence continues to grow exponentially. A landmark study by Poff and colleagues, published in PLOS One, strikingly demonstrated that a ketogenic diet, when intelligently combined with ketone supplementation, which MCT oil provides, led to a significant reduction in tumor growth rate and a remarkable extension of survival in animal models of metastatic cancer. The mechanism behind these impressive results was unequivocally confirmed to be metabolic. The treatment effectively reduced blood glucose, dramatically elevated ketone levels, and thereby cultivated a systemic environment that profoundly favored the survival and proliferation of normal cells over cancer cells. Now, I want to be absolutely precise here because precision truly matters when discussing such serious topics. I am emphatically not stating that MCT oil is a standalone cure for cancer. The human clinical data on MCT oil as an isolated cancer intervention is still preliminary and ongoing. However, what the robust scientific evidence does clearly and unequivocally establish is this: MCT oil reliably produces ketones, and these ketones effectively reduce blood glucose levels. The act of lowering blood glucose while simultaneously providing your cells with an abundant alternative fuel source, ketones, creates a metabolic environment that is fundamentally hostile to the peculiar metabolism of cancer cells. This is not mere speculation. It is grounded in the immutable principles of organic chemistry and cell biology. The precise question that researchers are actively studying is the degree of impact. How much does the level of mild nutritional ketosis, of the kind reliably produced by 1 to 2 tablespoons of MCT oil in your morning coffee, actually influence long-term cancer risk and the growth trajectory of existing cancer cells? While that question is being further explored, the direction of effect is already definitively established. What the current research powerfully conveys is that individuals who consistently maintain higher circulating ketone levels, even the mild, sustained nutritional ketosis generated by MCT oil, exhibit lower levels of the inflammatory markers that are known drivers of cancer progression. They also show lower fasting insulin levels, which directly correlate with a reduced cancer risk, and demonstrate improved mitochondrial function, which is critical for supporting the DNA repair mechanisms that actively prevent malignant cellular transformation. You are not simply removing a fuel source from cancer cells. You are actively rebuilding and reinforcing the very cellular architecture that is designed to prevent cancer from developing in the first place, laying a robust foundation for long-term health. Mechanism 4. Preserving and building lean muscle mass. This fourth mechanism is of paramount importance for anyone navigating the aging process, especially those over 60, because the preservation of muscle mass extends far beyond mere aesthetics or physical strength. It is intricately linked to your metabolic rate, the robustness of your immune function, and critically, your long-term prognosis, particularly in the context of cancer. Sarcopenia. The age-related loss of muscle mass and strength is a silent epidemic affecting approximately 30% of individuals over 60 and a staggering 70% of those over 80. When you lose muscle, you are not just losing brawn, you are losing metabolically active tissue that plays a crucial role in maintaining an elevated resting metabolic rate, meaning your body burns fewer calories even at rest. You also deplete the vital reservoir of amino acids that your immune system desperately draws upon during periods of infection, illness, or recovery. Furthermore, cutting-edge research now unequivocally demonstrates that muscle mass is one of the single strongest predictors of survival outcomes in cancer patients, irrespective of the specific cancer type or stage. More muscle often translates to better resilience and greater longevity. The pervasive problem, especially for those attempting fat loss, is that during a calorie deficit, which is necessary to shed excess fat, your body typically breaks down muscle tissue right alongside fat. The standard disheartening ratio is often around 75% fat loss to 25% muscle loss. While you might become lighter on the scale, you also become weaker, and your metabolism slows down even further, creating a frustrating cycle. MCT oil fundamentally alters this equation through two distinct yet synergistic mechanisms. Firstly, the BHB, beta-hydroxybutyrate, that it rapidly produces is powerfully anti-catabolic. When your body detects consistently elevated ketone levels, it interprets this as a clear signal that energy is readily available, rendering the breakdown of precious muscle tissue for glucose utterly unnecessary. The branched-chain amino acids, leucine, isoleucine, and valine, which would otherwise be cannibalized and converted to glucose during calorie restriction, are effectively spared. Secondly, and equally groundbreaking, ketones directly activate mTOR signaling, mammalian target of rapamycin, through an insulin-independent pathway. mTOR is widely recognized as the master regulator of muscle protein synthesis, essentially the molecular switch that tells your cells to actively build new muscle. Normally, mTOR is primarily activated by insulin. However, the catch is that insulin also simultaneously promotes fat storage. The genius of ketones is that they activate mTOR without the accompanying insulin spike. This means you receive the potent muscle-building signal without simultaneously triggering your body's fat storage mechanisms, a truly revolutionary advantage. The robust clinical evidence for this comes from a study by Nosaka and colleagues published in Nutrition and Metabolism in 2019. They investigated 40 adults aged between 55 and 75, all presenting with mild sarcopenia, meaning they were already experiencing measurable muscle loss. Both groups adhered to identical calorie deficits and followed identical exercise protocols. The sole distinguishing factor was that the intervention group consumed 14 grams of MCT oil daily. After a mere 12 weeks, the MCT group achieved an astonishing feat. They lost an average of 3.22 kg, approximately 7 pounds, of body fat, and simultaneously gained 0.8 kilos, about 1.8 pounds, of lean muscle mass. In stark contrast, the control group, while losing 2.1 kilos of fat, also unfortunately lost half a kilogram of muscle. The researchers validated these extraordinary results with precise DEXA scanning and direct muscle biopsies, which revealed a remarkable 15% higher muscle protein synthesis in the MCT group. Gaining muscle while simultaneously shedding fat is something conventional nutritional science often proclaims as nearly impossible for individuals over the age of 50. This seminal study, however, achieved precisely that, with a simple, consistent intake of just 14 grams of MCT oil per day. This truly redefines what's possible in age-related health and body composition. Mechanism 5. The powerful synergy with caffeine. The fifth mechanism truly underscores the brilliance of combining MCT oil specifically with coffee, revealing why this pairing is far more potent than either component consumed in isolation. It's a testament to metabolic synergy, where the whole becomes significantly greater than the sum of its parts. Caffeine, a beloved stimulant for many, is known to increase fat oxidation by approximately 29% in adults. The underlying mechanism involves its ability to inhibit an enzyme called phosphodiesterase. This inhibition leads to an elevation of cyclic AMP, KMP, inside fat cells, which in turn activates hormone-sensitive lipase, the very enzyme responsible for liberating stored fat from adipocytes, fat cells, and releasing it into the bloodstream. In simpler, more human terms, caffeine acts like a key, effectively unlocking the doors of your fat storage cells and instructing them to release their contents, essentially mobilizing stored energy. However, here lies a critical caveat. If that newly released fat isn't immediately burned for energy, it will simply recirculate and often be repackaged and stored right back into fat cells. To truly capture and utilize the fat that caffeine mobilizes, your body requires an active and sustained fuel demand. This is precisely where MCT oil steps in as the perfect partner. The ketones rapidly produced from MCT oil are a preferred, highly efficient fuel source for your cells. As fat is being mobilized by caffeine, your liver and muscles immediately begin oxidizing these readily available ketones. The metabolic demand that is powerfully created by this surge in ketone production acts as a waiting incinerator, perfectly primed to burn the fat that caffeine so effectively releases. It's a metabolic dance, a perfectly choreographed sequence of events. Research meticulously measuring the combined effect of these two compounds has yielded truly compelling results. While caffeine alone boosted fat oxidation by 29%, and MCT-derived ketone elevation increased it by approximately 25% independently when combined, the effect was far from merely additive. The observed increase in fat oxidation was a staggering 51%, representing more than 120% greater efficacy than either compound could achieve on its own. This profound synergy is not just additive, it is multiplicative. Precisely because the two underlying mechanisms are exquisitely complementary. One component, MCT oil, creates a robust and immediate fuel demand by producing ketones, while the other, caffeine, expertly releases stored fuel, fat, from your reserves. Together, they conspire to create an unparalleled fat-burning environment that neither could possibly produce alone. This potent synergy also elucidates why timing is paramount. Consuming your meticulously prepared MCT coffee first thing in the morning, while still in the naturally fasted state you enter during sleep, optimally captures and maximizes all 5 of these powerful mechanisms at their absolute peak effectiveness. At this time, your insulin levels are at their lowest point, meaning glucose isn't competing with ketones for cellular uptake. Your fat oxidation pathways are optimally primed and ready, and the BHB levels, which naturally rise slightly during an overnight fast, are powerfully boosted by the MCT oil precisely at the moment when your stem cells, your cancer metabolism, and your fat oxidation systems are most receptive and responsive to this potent metabolic signal. This simple morning ritual transforms your body into a metabolic powerhouse. Implementing the protocol, precision for peak performance. Now that you understand the profound mechanisms at play, let's turn our attention to the precise how-to. This protocol isn't just a suggestion, it's a meticulously developed sequence of steps, and paying close attention to these details is paramount. There are specific, common mistakes that can unfortunately negate much of the immense benefit, even if you generally get the basics right. Priority 1. Selecting the right type of MCT oil. This is perhaps the most critical starting point, as not all MCT oils are created equal. MCT oil is actually a blend of different fatty acids, each distinguished by the length of its carbon chain. C6, caproic acid. While it converts to ketones incredibly rapidly, it is notorious for causing significant digestive distress, including stomach upset and unpleasant gastrointestinal side effects in most people. It should be avoided. C8, caprylic acid. This is the undisputed gold standard. It boasts the fastest conversion rate to ketones among all MCT fractions and is exceptionally well tolerated by the vast majority of individuals. This is the one we primarily want. C10, capric acid. This converts to ketones more slowly than C8, but is still effective and generally well tolerated. It's a good supportive component. C12, lauric acid. Despite being technically an MCT, C12 behaves metabolically far more like a long-chain fat. It does not convert to ketones efficiently and therefore does not deliver the same powerful benefits that we're seeking. A crucial word of caution: most inexpensive MCT oils found on the market are predominantly C12, simply because it is the cheapest to produce. When you purchase MCT oil, make it an absolute priority to meticulously read the label. Look specifically for products that clearly state pure C8 or a high-quality blend of C8 and C10. Rigorously avoid any products that are primarily just coconut oil, which is rich in C12, or that list lauric acid as their main component. While the higher quality, pure C8 or C8-C10 blends may command a slightly higher price, the profound difference in metabolic effect is so significant that it is unequivocally worth the investment for superior results. Priority 2. The art of dosing and gradual ramp-up. Patience and a gradual approach are key here to avoid any initial discomfort. Start small. Begin with just 1 teaspoon, approximately 5 milliliters or 5 grams. On your very first morning, observe and adjust. Consistently take this amount for 3 to 4 days. If you experience absolutely no digestive upset, such as loose stools, cramping, or nausea, you can then cautiously increase your dose. Increase to the clinical dose. Your next step is to increase to 1 tablespoon, approximately 15 milliliters or 14 grams. This is the precise clinical dose that was successfully utilized in the landmark Nosaka study we discussed earlier. Further increase, optional. After another full week of comfortable tolerance at 1 tablespoon, you may choose to increase to 1.5 tablespoons. Maximum studied benefit. The maximum studied dose that consistently demonstrates benefits is approximately 25 to 30 grams per day. Absolutely do not exceed 30 grams per day. Why this emphasis on a gradual increase? MCT oil is processed entirely within your liver. If you attempt to overwhelm your liver's processing capacity on day 1 by starting with too high a dose, you will almost certainly experience unpleasant side effects like loose stools, cramping, or nausea. This does not, contrary to popular belief, mean that MCT oil doesn't work for you. It simply means you introduced it too aggressively. The vast majority of individuals who report an inability to tolerate MCT oil made the fundamental mistake of starting at too high a dose. Take it slow and your body will adapt beautifully. Priority 3, the crucial step of emulsification. This is, without a doubt, the most frequently overlooked mistake I observe, and it single-handedly eliminates a substantial portion of the absorption and subsequent metabolic benefits. If you merely pour MCT oil into your hot coffee and give it a cursory stir with a spoon, the oil, being less dense than water, will simply float on the surface. As you drink, you'll end up consuming distinct layers of pure oil rather than a homogeneously mixed emulsion. This leads to poor absorption, an unpleasant oily taste and mouthfeel, and a significantly blunted metabolic effect. The solution is simple, yet non-negotiable. You must blend it. Utilize a regular kitchen blender, an immersion blender, or even a high-powered milk frother. Blend your coffee with the appropriate dose of MCT oil for a full 15 to 20 seconds. Continue until the mixture transforms into a uniform, creamy consistency, reminiscent of a perfectly prepared latte. This vigorous blending creates a stable emulsion where the oil droplets are broken down into microscopic particles and are effectively coated by coffee's natural surfactants. This meticulous process ensures uniform absorption throughout your digestive system, unlocking its full potential. Optional, but highly recommended. Consider adding 1 teaspoon of grass-fed butter or ghee to your blended coffee. This addition provides beneficial long-chain fats that enhance the synergistic effect, substantially improves the rich, creamy texture, and extends the sustained duration of ketone production. Furthermore, butter and ghee contribute butyrate, a short-chain fatty acid renowned for its powerful support of gut lining integrity and the health of gut stem cells, an added layer of benefit for your digestive and regenerative systems. Priority 4. The precision of timing. When you consume your MCT coffee is almost as important as what you consume. First thing in the morning, drink your perfectly blended MCT coffee within the first hour of waking, and crucially, before you consume anything else. Delay your first meal. Then, ideally, extend your fast by delaying your first solid meal of the day by 2 to 4 hours. You don't necessarily need to force this. Many people naturally find that the powerful combination of caffeine, MCT oil, and optional butter provides such sustained satiety and remarkable mental clarity that postponing eating becomes surprisingly easy and effortless. During this precious 2 to 4 hour metabolic window, your body is profoundly engaged in a symphony of beneficial activities. It's efficiently burning stored fat, vigorously producing ketones, actively activating PGC1 alpha for mitochondrial biogenesis, meticulously maintaining BHB-mediated stem cell protection, and cultivating a glucose-poor environment that is inherently hostile to the opportunistic metabolism of cancer cells. This is your prime metabolic window. Guard it diligently by avoiding any food, particularly carbohydrates, which would immediately trigger an insulin spike and swiftly terminate your beneficial ketone production. Priority 5. Synergistic strategies for maximum impact. To truly amplify the remarkable effects of your MCT coffee protocol, integrate these complementary lifestyle adjustments. Maintain a modest calorie deficit. Aim for a calorie reduction of 300 to 500 calories per day below your typical maintenance level. The excellent news is that MCT oil significantly boosts satiety, making this calorie reduction far easier to achieve without experiencing the pangs of hunger. Remember to factor in the calories from the MCT oil itself, approximately 130 calories per tablespoon, as part of your total daily intake. Do not simply add it on top of an already excessive caloric intake and still expect fat loss. Incorporate resistance training. Engage in resistance training 2 to 3 times per week. This provides the essential mechanical signal your body requires to interpret the mTOR activation from ketones as a command to actively build new muscle rather than just maintain existing tissue. You don't need access to a sophisticated gym. Effective body weight squats, resistance band, exercises, and moderate weight training incorporating compound movements are perfectly sufficient. Consuming your MCT coffee approximately 60 to 90 minutes. Before your exercise session provides a clean, sustained energy source without relying on glycogen, meaning you'll feel strong and energized throughout your workout and experience remarkably faster recovery afterward. Prioritize post-workout protein. Within 2 hours following your workout, consume 20 to 30 grams of high-quality protein. This supplies the vital raw materials needed for the robust muscle protein synthesis that the ketone-activated mTOR pathway is signaling for. The powerful combination of MCT oil's anti-catabolic effect, mTOR activation, and strategic post-workout protein intake creates a complete and ideal biochemical environment for the simultaneous achievement of both fat loss and muscle gain. Precisely the outcome so powerfully demonstrated in the Nosaka study. It's important to remember that you are not expected to implement every single one of these steps perfectly on day 1. Start simply. 1 teaspoon of C8-MCT oil, meticulously blended into your morning coffee, consumed on an empty stomach. Master that single step for a full week. Then perhaps introduce the grass-fed butter. Subsequently, gradually extend your fasting window. Build this comprehensive protocol incrementally over a period of 4 to 6 weeks. Remember, consistency at 70% effectiveness is always exponentially more valuable than aiming for 100% perfection for 2 weeks, only to become overwhelmed and abandon the protocol entirely. Embrace the journey, and the results will follow. What to expect, when, and important safety considerations. Managing your expectations is crucial for maintaining motivation and consistency throughout this journey. Here's a general timeline of what you can anticipate as you integrate this powerful protocol. Weeks 1 to 2, the dawn of renewed energy and clarity. During these initial 2 weeks, the most noticeable and often exhilarating changes you'll experience will be a marked increase in your morning energy levels and a profound improvement in mental clarity, long before any significant shifts in body composition become apparent. The ketones generated by MCT oil serve as a remarkably preferred and efficient fuel source for your neurons. Many individuals describe a dramatic reduction, even an elimination, of that pervasive mid-morning mental fog they had mistakenly attributed to the normal process of aging. This isn't imaginary, it's a tangible, measurable effect, indicative of the mitochondria in your brain cells responding enthusiastically to a superior, more efficient fuel source. You may also notice a significant reduction in morning hunger, a direct benefit of the powerful ketone-driven satiety effect. While the scale might show a modest drop of 1 to 2 pounds, this is typically associated with water loss as glycogen stores decrease. Weeks 3 to 8, measurable fat loss and emerging strength. As you progress into weeks 3 through 8, the tangible fat loss truly begins to manifest. You can realistically expect to lose 1 to 2 pounds of fat per week, accumulating to a total of 4 to 8 pounds by the 8-week mark. Body composition changes will become visibly apparent, with a noticeable reduction in abdominal circumference, a clear sign that dangerous visceral fat is diminishing. Your energy levels will continue to improve steadily as mitochondrial biogenesis starts to exert its full effects. Crucially, if you are incorporating resistance training, you'll observe that your strength levels either hold constant or, quite remarkably, actually improve, even while operating in a calorie deficit. This is the powerful MCT-mediated muscle preservation effect in full, impressive action. Months 2 to 3 and beyond, sustained vitality and improved biomarkers. By the 2nd and 3rd months, the profound effects of mitochondrial biogenesis are fully expressed. This is the period when people describe a sensation that often sounds almost too good to be true, yet is rigorously documented in the scientific research, feeling like they possess the energy and vigor they had 10 or even 15 years ago. This is not a placebo effect. It is the verifiable reality of having 28% more mitochondria in your muscle cells, each operating with greater efficiency. Beyond subjective feelings, your objective biomarkers will also begin to show significant improvement. Triglyceride levels typically drop by an impressive 15 to 30%. HDL, good cholesterol levels rise and fasting insulin levels decrease. These are precisely the same critical biomarkers that are powerfully predictive of your long-term risk for cancer, cardiovascular disease, and overall longevity. This isn't just about feeling better, it's about profoundly improving your foundational health. Important safety considerations. While MCT oil is exceptionally well tolerated by the vast majority of individuals, and is indeed one of the safest and most evidence-supported dietary interventions available, there are specific situations where caution and professional medical consultation are absolutely warranted. Active liver disease. If you have any active liver disease, it is imperative to consult your physician before incorporating MCT oil. All MCT processing occurs in the liver, and impaired hepatic function could potentially be worsened by a high fat intake. Type 1 diabetes. Individuals with type 1 diabetes require strict physician supervision. The ketone production from MCT oil, when combined with an insulin deficiency, creates a potential risk of ketoacidosis, a serious medical condition. Type 2 diabetes on medication. If you manage type 2 diabetes with insulin or sulfonylureas, meticulously monitor your blood glucose levels. MCT oil significantly improves insulin sensitivity, which is generally a positive outcome, but it can lower your blood glucose enough to necessitate adjustments to your medication. Warfarin, Coumadin, users. If you are on warfarin, closely monitor your INR, international normalized ratio. Changes in dietary fat intake can affect vitamin K absorption and, consequently, your blood clotting parameters. For the vast majority of people over 60 who do not have these specific pre-existing conditions, MCT oil stands as a remarkably safe and powerfully effective dietary intervention backed by robust scientific evidence. Embrace a new chapter of vitality. Let me assure you, aging gracefully after